Thanks. So hello, everyone, and thank you, Jenny, for inviting us to this call today. Christine and I are going to join this call to present to you details of the GCI and VCI rearchitecture, which the Stanford ClinGen team have been focusing on over the last few months. So first of all, why did we need to re-architect the VCI and the GCI platform? Well, primarily it's a matter of scale. As you can see here, the usage of the GCI and the VCI has continued to grow substantially over the last few years, and the number of users has more than doubled every year. And the number of groups requesting to curate together as part of an affiliation continues to also rise rapidly. So this diagram was produced a few weeks ago and it's already out of date. So we now have over like 1,200 users and 82 affiliations using the interfaces. So our user base looks like it's going to just keep on rapidly growing over time. So this increased user base is also reflected in the curation output from the interfaces. So this figure shows the number of classified variants in the VCI. And again, it's currently doubling annually. And this is based on the current VCI where variants are curated one by one. So you can imagine once we introduce bulk curation tools to the VCI, then we'd expect this rate of increase to accelerate even further. Therefore, our team had to re-architect the GCI and the VCI platform to make sure it was robust enough to support the continuing and increasing needs of our curators. So in order to do this, we've built a whole new platform, which we're calling the 2.0 release. And when 2.0 is released, we'll migrate all of the existing data in production over to this new platform. 2.0 is an advanced microservices platform that's designed to be flexible. So this makes the input and output and the collection of data relatively easy compared to the current system, and both within the, and also like interaction and integration between the GCI and VCI platform, and supports the transfer of data with other resources. So this flexible structure will enable the VCI and the GCI to scale in parallel with future demands as the curation activity continues to grow across all the ClinGen resources. So the UI experience will also be improved, including using more advanced web frameworks to incorporate task management features such as user alerts. And other than making the GCI VCI scalable for future curation use, this modernization of the platform also makes the data within the GCI VCI more accessible and helps us to work with other ClinGen groups to integrate their systems. It's also a more reliable system, so we'll be far less likely to suffer downtime from outages, and it's far easier to maintain. One example of this is that we'll be able to have continual deployment of features rather than having to wait for releases. So in future, expect to see lots of smaller features delivered continually rather than a release once per month. When you first look at the new interfaces, you'll notice that it's changed in look and feel. It's been tidied up a bit here and there, and does look better than before. However, the core goal of this first 2.0 release was to produce a like-for-like product. To reproduce all the same core functionality that the GCI VCI platform currently has, so that we can build on that for the future. So when you first see it, apart from like cosmetic changes, you'll find it mostly looks similar to how it does now. Here's a record header in the VCI, and as you can see, all the same data and functionality is there. It's just changed in like look and feel. And again, here's an approval modal from the GCI. The top one is from the current UI and the bottom one from the new UI. And as you can see, they're very similar. It's just been tidied up a bit in 2.0, but all the same core functionality is still there and it's unchanged. While the focus of the architecture has been on reproducing in this first 2.0 release like-for-like functionality between the old and the new systems, the dev team have been able to make a few enhancements that will be available for curators to use upon release. One of these is the way that you select variants. In the current interfaces, as you see at the top in this diagram, you have to select either a ClinVar variation ID or a ClinGen allele registry ID in order to proceed. In the new version, you just enter a ClinVar variation ID or a ClinGen allele registry ID, and the system automatically recognizes the ID and provides the correct output for you. This is the same wherever you enter a variant in the interfaces in the VCI and GCI. You just enter the ID. You don't need to select what type of ID it is. And this will help in the future for other types of IDs, particularly IDs, for instance, the CA/CN IDs that are being developed by the allele registry. It will make implementation of that a lot easier. Another significant update in the release 2.0 updates to the dashboard tables on the landing pages. So where an affiliation views all the VCI and GCI records that they're working on, based on feedback from the GCI VCI proxies, we've added extra columns to these tables. So here you can see, as an example, a VCI records table containing mock data, and highlighted in orange are the new columns we've added, including one column with the pathogenicity and modification if you've made one, another containing the criteria that have been marked as met for each interpretation, so that creators will be able to search for these met criteria in all their records. And I'd say that, like the MET criteria column in particular, is proven quite popular already with people that have tested the new VCI system. Additionally, we've added a column containing when an interpretation record was last modified. That's the one you see at the end there. And remember, you always have the option of downloading your table in a CSV spreadsheet format if you wish to do your own like filtering and sorting offline. Likewise, for the GCI table, there's now a column containing the classification and any modification made by that affiliation for each record, and a last modified field. We'll continue to work with like the GCI and VCI proxies, and that's to determine any other data columns that might be useful to you. Or you could write into us at the help desk as well, of course, if you've got ideas. With the release of these,
sorry, I have just a quick question. Yeah. So are we able to, if we wanted to add a column that's like specific to our group, could we do that? Is that, I mean, something that has been thought about so that, I mean, maybe it's not something every group wants?
So in this V1, it would just be the columns you see here. But like one of our ideas for like the future is that when you would have like the core columns, that when you land like these default columns, but but you would have the option of selecting boxes for other columns for your group, for your affiliation, for instance, when you're on the landing page, that would automatically then fill in those other columns as well.
That's
like
awesome.
The only thing is, the reason why we have this like just default set of columns is because the more columns you add, the more data for each one of these variants you have to go and find within the interfaces, and so it takes longer for the table to load. So that's why we have the default set. So, but yeah, if you wanted to wait like just a few seconds longer and have an extra column in, then we'll be able to provide that for you.
Great, thank you.
No worries. Right, so one of the other things about this is that when you will also no longer have, because one of the things we've noticed is at the moment, when people like, particularly like groups like the hearing loss that have got a lot of like VCI and GCI records, they have to scroll up and down the page to view all of their records. So we've introduced pagination in the tables, and this is with the default of only 10 records being shown per table, although you can opt for more if you wish. So here in this example, this table has 41 records that have been split by default across 5 pages. But of course, if you want to like search or filter the table, it will search across all the entries, across all the pages, not just the first page. So in the VCI, we're updating our links to splicing tools. We'll be taking away the human splicing finder because it's now behind a paywall, and replacing it with links to 2 new tools, Splice AI and VCI. The Splice AI link, for instance, will take users directly to the Broad Institute's like marvelous new Splice AI lookup to view splicing data on your variant. In the GCI, when you add in a non-human model organism, you'll find that the Medaka fish has now been added as an option. This was requested by several curators. If there are any other species that you'd like to add into this pull down that are missing, then please let us know, and we can think about adding those in for you as well. So as you all know, the gene creation SOP is being updated to version 8. It's going to be discussed later in this call. For the new release, we've updated the approval modal in the GCI so that version 8 is now an option from the version pull down, as shown in the top half of this figure. And if you select this, then that choice will be reflected in your evidence summary header, as shown in the bottom half of this figure. And if you publish, it will also be shown with that SOP version number on the ClinGen website. The GCI proxies have specified all the changes in the GCI that are required to fully support the new SOP. These won't be implemented in the GCI in time for our 2.0 release, but we will be getting to work on these as a priority shortly after the 2.0 release, so that we can get these changes in there for you as soon as possible. Another change in the GCI is that the evidence summary text, here highlighted in orange, will be like a required field when you go to save a classification. This requirement will go live at the time of the 2.0 release. And so from then on, if you go to save and there's no evidence summary text, then you'll get an error message and you'll have to add in the summary text before you can proceed. As part of the usual gene curation process, but especially with lumping and splitting decisions, the MONDO ID can change on a gene disease record. Changing MONDO IDs is currently actually the #1 issue we get reported to our help desk. So it's increasing, I would say, the number of people that write into us about this. So we're at work right now, like changing the schema so that you can change the disease on gene disease records yourself. You'll only be able to do this for records that are not currently published on the ClinGen website. For published records, you'll need to unpublish them first before you'll be able to change the MONDO ID within the record. Now, we're hoping to get this new functionality included in the 2.0 release, but we've also got a lot of other things that we need to finish off. So if it doesn't make it into that release, then this new feature, because it's almost ready to go, will be released like shortly after that release. So I'm excited about the release of our newly re-architected system, but I have to say I'm like even more excited when I think about all the future opportunities it opens up for us to deliver new functionalities for all of you. So new features that you can expect to pop up in the interfaces over the next couple of years as a result of now that we've done the re-architecture. So for instance, as I said a moment ago, this platform is designed to be scalable, so it will support like bulk curation workflows. Currently, the VCI is a one variant at a time process, but now we'll be able to change that. So we'll be able to support bulk curation workflows, including the bulk prioritization of variants. And following on from that, like semi-automated criteria evaluation, whereby variants that meet specific criteria thresholds can be tagged with the pertinent ACMG evidence code. Another important component of making the VCI scalable is integrating external data sources so that we can automatically bring in these bulk data for display within the VCI. And that's being specified at the moment. Our newly re-architected system also makes accessing data easier. In our second release of the new system, we plan to provide a full audit trail for all edits made within each record in both the GCI and VCI. This permanent record of the curation process, when coupled with our future plans to allow curators to fully specify the evidence they've used in their evaluations, will provide a full data provenance to fulfill all the requirements of the FDA recognition process within the VCI. We also plan to implement user-friendly complex searches and also provide comprehensive outputs as desired by our users. So our new system will also help in task management by supporting automatic alerts to our users. And right now we're working with the GCI VCI proxies to specify how they'd like to tag batches of records within the interfaces. And of course, the ability to create batches of records will be required for bulk processing of variants, such as submitting batches of variants to ClinVar from the VCI. We also plan to support our coordinators by allowing them to make basic edits to their affiliations within the interfaces, such as managing who the members are of their affiliation and updating their affiliation name, and possibly also being able to generate reports on the affiliation's curation activities within the VCI GCI. The re-architecture will also help us to create new training opportunities for the interface, especially with training instances. In our old system, training instances were problematic because any data curated into them could not be transferred to production. However, in the new system, if we created a transferal process, then we would be able to migrate data curated into a training instance over to production. We'll also now be able to work with the gene curation proxies to refactor the GCI UI to better suit the ClinGen gene curation workflow, such as putting the evidence summary front and center on the landing page and providing direct links to where the data can be edited. In this way, the GCI UI will become more streamlined, it'll be more intuitive, and we hope will also provide increased efficiency to you. And we've already started like scoping plans for this with the proxies. And finally, we're looking at integrating the GCI VCI with each other and with other ClinGen systems, such as through single sign-ons and transfers data between different sites resources, in order to provide our users with a seamless experience when they're traversing all the different tools. We already have an ongoing discussion with the gene tracker team about better integrating it with the GCI so that we can provide our gene curators with a seamless curation workflow when they're traversing these two tools. And I think the next slide is Christine.
That was great. Thank you so much. There's just a question in the chat. So will the gene-specific specifications be integrated into the program, and would it be possible based on the input to get an automatic classification? So 2 different questions for the VCI.
Well, but Christine, you can answer that because that's your project.
Yeah, so the VCEP specific customizations is not part of this release, but we're very excited. That's been fully specified, and we anticipate running ahead with the development on that in the next early next year. So we're hoping to get that out soon. And then what was the second part, Jenny?
Would it be possible based on the input to get an automatic classification?
It's definitely something we're very interested in. It was one of the kind of founding principles during the design of this release of this 2.0 platform. It's not something that we're going to be able to do immediately because it requires a lot of foundational additional development work. But one of the key goals of this platform was to allow us to move towards things like that.
Great, thanks.
Okay, so hi, I'm Christine Preston, for anyone who hasn't met me, hello. And yeah, I'll just continue along and tell you a little bit about what's coming up in the next few weeks with regards to our release schedule and testing. So the current release schedule, as we have planned, is we are going to do the beta release, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in the next slide. And that's going to be a 2.0 beta version of our demo site. So what that means is there will not be any production data. So we are transferring, as we do the official release, we will transfer all of the data currently in the production, what we're calling our legacy software, into the 2.0 site so that you'll be able to continue curating within the 2.0 site. And we've been testing that data migration as part of our testing, but the beta release that will happen actually tomorrow is will not have any production data. And so I'll talk a little bit more about the beta release and how you can hopefully help us out if you have a little bit of time, because anyone who has a current VCI or GCI account can get into the beta release and can help us to test if they're willing. And then in terms of our official 2.0 release, this is when we would do a complete transfer of all of the production data into the 2.0 site and do that transfer. That will is intended to happen in sometime in early December. We're hoping before the 11th, but the 11th is kind of our clear date. Next slide, please. Okay, so obviously this is a huge project and involves ClinGen's curation work, and it's very important to thoroughly test the software before release. And I just wanted to summarize the testing process we're using and again mention how you can get involved. So we've gone through a multi-step testing process that I've laid out here. The first was what we call pre-alpha testing. So this was when the software wasn't even fully put together, just testing, specific features that had been written. And that actually started back in early August of this year. So this has been going on for a while. And that was done primarily by Matt and myself. And then once as the software continued to develop and become the fully formed system that it currently is, Matt and I did alpha testing to ensure that we did an internal full testing of the software, identified all of the bugs that we could find, and provided that provided that information to the developers so that they could develop and perfect the software. So the alpha testing has been completed for quite a while. And now we're in the beta testing phase. And so beta testing is where we have external users do acceptance testing, look for bugs, look for issues with the software, and provide us with feedback about the software. So this is something where we had 20 wonderful volunteers, VCI and GCI curators, thank you all so much, who went in and did testing of the software for the VCI and the GCI. And the VCI testing was done, I think, almost 2 months ago, and the GCI testing is more recent. So that is another set of testing that's been going on. Now we're moving into the beta release, and this is what's being launched tomorrow. And this is where we do kind of a final check for bugs, provide public access to the new platform, and get any feedback. And for this, we'd love for any of you who have a VCI or GCI account to be involved and give us any feedback you can. And then, of course, once we've done that, we'll move on to the production release in December. Next slide, please. And I just wanted to call out to all of our wonderful testers. Thank you so much for the beta testing you've done. We really appreciate it. Next slide, please. Okay, So access to the beta release for registered users. So any of you who have a current account, we'd love for you to check out the beta release site when it launches, which again will be tomorrow. And we'll send out an email as well to all of our users with more information, or basically the same information we're showing right here. But since these slides are going to be put on, since these slides are going to be available to all of you, I wanted to make sure that we communicate as much as possible with as many people so we can get as much feedback as possible. So this slide lays out how you would access the beta release. It's actually pretty intuitive, I think. Basically, what you do is when you navigate to the beta site, you'll get a modal that'll pop up that'll say sign into your account. And if it doesn't pop up, you can click login in the upper right-hand corner, which will pop it up. In that instance, what you'll want to do is you'll want to put in your registered email. You don't need to use your password for the current VCI or GCI. You can put any text you want into the password field, because what you're going to do is this is a separate system from our current legacy software. They don't talk to each other. And so you'll log in separately. You'll have to reset your password and you'll have to re-authenticate your email. And so once you push the sign in button there, it'll then immediately transfer you into the reset your password account. And in this case, what you'll want to do, and this is a little tricky, is you'll want to push that resend code button, because that's what will trigger them sending the code to your email, which will help you re-authenticate your email access. Once you've done that, you should get an email. This is step 5 with a password. I think it's a 6-digit code, password reset code. You'll then go back to the beta release, put in that code, choose a new password, and then you'll be able to access the account. Next slide, please. And we just wanted to mention, and once again, for any users, we're going to send out an email tomorrow with all of this information. So you'll see it again if you're a user. If you're having any issues accessing the dashboard once you've logged in, we would recommend that you refresh your web browser and clear the browser cache. If you're having issues receiving the code in the email, we would recommend that you check your spam email folder. Sometimes things get scuttled into the spam folders. And then potentially, if that doesn't work, you can even try sending the clicking the send code button. If that doesn't work as well, please contact us, ClinGen help desk at list.stanford.edu, and we'll get back to you and try to help you further troubleshoot. Finally, the reason we're trying to communicate this as widely as possible is we really would love as many people to check out the demo site, to check out the beta release site, and give us as much feedback as possible. So if you have some time in the next few weeks and are willing to go in and spend just 20, 30 minutes checking out the site, trying out the features, letting us know what your thoughts are, good and bad, we'd love that. And we have 2 ways that we're soliciting feedback. The first is through a feedback spreadsheet that I've linked in here. And once again, all this information will be emailed to you tomorrow. And the second is, of course, you can always email us. Next slide, please. So we'd like to make a call out to our Rearchitecture team, the software engineers that have done just such an amazing job with this very heavy load. Sean, Gloria, Rao, Mark, Howard, and Brian. They really made this happen. It's been exciting to see it come together so nicely. Next slide, please. And then finally, just a huge thank you to all of you, and we're happy to take questions.
Thank you so much.